I've been waiting for this moment for a long time, for 2 weeks. I haven't been sleeping for 2 weeks. Tonight I'm gonna sleep good. I spoke with my daughter earlier today. She sounds very good. She looks very good. She was very happy. And she's waiting to come home.
Palestinian health officials say more than 4,300 people have died in Gaza. That number is certain to rise. Let's begin this hour in the coastal city of Ashkelon in southern Israel. CNN's Jeremy Diamond is there. Jeremy, what are you seeing on the ground right now? Do we see any indication that this ground incursion that's been anticipated for days now might get underway this weekend?
Well, Jim, it's not only what we are seeing on the ground, but it's also in listening to the top generals of Israel's military. This evening, Jim, Israel's military chief of staff, General Halevi, saying very clearly, we will enter the Gaza Strip, and telling troops that they will embark on a campaign to, quote, destroy Hamas operatives and infrastructure. Again, this follows several other very clear indications from the defense minister, the prime minister, and other top generals that is indeed the plan to go into the Gaza Strip. And today we saw massings of hundreds of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and bulldozers, all within less than 10 kilometers of the Gaza Strip. All of this indications that they are preparing to move. When exactly, we do not know, but it does appear that we are nearing that moment. Now, at the same time, we spent some time here in the city of Ashkelon, which has received more rocket fire from Hamas over the last 2 weeks than any other city in Israel, to get a sense of what it is like to live here.
Go inside. Go inside. Go inside.
This is life in Ashkelon, the most fired upon city in Israel since Hamas launched its first rockets 12 days ago. Here, fear still grips some. Others carry on, ignoring the sirens' wails.
When we're outside, we're very careful. And when we're inside, God is protecting us. Every missile has an address. We don't need to be afraid.
In a city where 90% of businesses have closed, this supermarket is a lifeline.
There's a lot of businesses that are closed.
They're closed.
But the
The
supermarket,
market is working because people have to eat. They have to drink.
so you come like once a week, or?
Once a week, enough, and I'm very afraid. If they send now rocket, I must lie on the road and to put my hands on my head.
Getting to a bomb shelter isn't an option for everyone here, prompting the city to help evacuate thousands.
We still have around 35,000 people that actually live without shelters. So each and every rocket, it means a direct risk for them. So we are trying to find solution for them.
More than 1,200 rockets have targeted Ashkelon, and while most are intercepted by the Iron Dome, about 200 have made direct hits, displacing families from their homes, causing casualties, and shuttering businesses like this bakery.
When we got here, everything was in pieces. The door was out of place, there was the smell of gunpowder. A lot of nails and shrapnels were spread out. Everything was destroyed. We are starting to put things right.
In the basement of an unassuming building, Ashkelon's CEO takes us into the city's emergency operations center, where officials try and shorten response times, tracking incoming rockets headed for the city.
Rescue teams, police, ambulances, everything is going from here.
So before the rocket even lands,
We
you
know,
can see where it would land.
we have some estimation where it's going to land.
Until then, the first responders wait and pray.
And Jim, 4 people have already died in the city of Ashkelon as a result of that rocket fire. 35 have been injured, and more than 1,200 people have been displaced from their homes as a result of hits on their houses. Just last night, in fact, it's easy to think that the Iron Dome system captures all of these rockets, but some of them do indeed get through. Just last night, there were hits on 2 homes here in Ashkelon, as well as 1 parked car. Jim?
And Jeremy, about the Rafah crossing, we saw that some of that aid was able to get through. Those 20 trucks in that convoy got through, but then the crossing was shut down again. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. 20 trucks of humanitarian aid finally making it through the Rafah crossing after a week during which there were negotiations, there was finger pointing about who was responsible for the holdup in this aid. Some of it finally getting through, but now aid groups say that much more needs to continue to go through, and a firm humanitarian corridor, a consistent one, needs to be established. The director of the World Food Program warning that it is a catastrophic humanitarian situation currently inside of Gaza with rampant starvation, urgent need for food and water to get in, as well as fuel as well. And we know that the death toll in Gaza continues to rise. More than 4,000 people have been killed in Gaza in just the last 2 weeks, and that includes hundreds of women and children as well. And in addition to that, Jim, just tonight we are still hearing a very, very intense air campaign being carried out by Israel, as well as artillery fire going out. We can hear that rumbling in the background, and it has been continuing all night. Jim?
All right, Jeremy Diamond in Ashkelon for us. Jeremy, thank you very much for that report. Joining me now, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces. Colonel, thanks as always for being with us. We appreciate it. I guess just to pick up on what Jeremy was talking about a few moments ago, apparently IDF Chief of Staff has said to commanders that we will enter the Gaza Strip. I think I have that quote pretty much verbatim there. What is the timeline for that?
Yes, thank you for having me. Your quote is just about correct. And the timeline, that changes according to many variables on the ground, in the air, and across the sea. The important thing is that the IDF will conduct significant military operations in order to defeat Hamas, in order to bring our hostages home, and in order to fundamentally change the security situation that we have in southern Israel and, frankly, all of Israel.
Has this ground incursion been delayed somewhat in order to win the release of hostages? We saw that 2 American hostages were released. Is that entering the equation?
I am confident that decisions are made by those who make decisions in Israel in order to achieve both these aims that I said before, to defeat Hamas and all of the other terrorists in Gaza and to bring home our people. It is a very difficult equation to square, and we are not going to spare any efforts, intelligence, combat, diplomatic, whatever we can do to bring our people home, we will do so. Those are the words of Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, our Chief of Staff, and the commitment here is very solid. We will have to see by what means we can get them out. The best would be for Hamas to hand them over safe and sound, as they took them. That would be the shortest way, which would spare most lives in Israel and in Gaza. If they don't, we will get them back by any way that we can, and they will be back home very soon.
And what can you tell our viewers about why, after nearly 2 weeks, did Hamas decide to free this American mother and daughter? Do you have any sense as to why?
My assessment is that we're talking about a very cheap and unsophisticated attempt at looking humanitarian. And they even had the audacity, this terror organization, this ISIS of Gaza, had the audacity to include humanitarian in their press release when they spoke about why they released these 2 women. I think it's outrageous that they even think of using that word after the atrocities that they did on the 7th of October, murdering more than 1,000 Israeli civilians, people that we are still trying to identify forensically because the remains were in such horrible conditions that not even with the most advanced machinery and techniques are we able to identify people. That's how bad their atrocities were.
And what are the hopes for the remaining hostages at this point? What is your assessment as to how those hostages are doing? I know you don't want to get into sources and methods, but I have to assume that you have some sense as to how they're doing. What can you tell us?
I can tell you that out of the 210 Israelis that we have confirmed are held in Gaza, some of them by Hamas, some of them by other terror organizations, we have a better picture of who was taken alive, who was taken dead. We know that quite a few corpses were taken by Hamas. They don't only take live persons, but they try to trade in corpses as well. And we are constantly piecing together additional parts of information to complete and to understand where they're being held, who is holding them, and most importantly, how to get them out. At this stage, I cannot elaborate further about much of what's going on. I can only reiterate our commitment to bring all of them home.
And Colonel, what is the situation down at the Rafah crossing? We saw those 20 trucks, that convoy of 20 trucks come through. Obviously, you've heard from a variety of officials there in Gaza that the humanitarian situation dictates that more relief supplies come in. Is Israel, is the IDF open to that? Are you open to seeing more humanitarian aid coming through? And are you, would you pledge to be a part of that process to make sure that that aid does come through?
You know, in general, I think that we are done taking dictates from various organizations around the world telling us what we need and need not do when it comes to the situation in Gaza. The organization responsible for what's happening in Gaza is Hamas. They are hoarding humanitarian equipment and they're using it for their military purposes instead of allowing the civilians. They have stolen fuel from UN facilities. They have taken food from other locations and they are stockpiling them instead of providing it to civilians. And the situation in Gaza wouldn't be as difficult if the priorities of Hamas were different. Sadly, that is not the case, but the pressure should be on Hamas through their various sponsors around the world, Iran, Qatar, and the others, to provide for the civilian.
Now, and Colonel, I understand that there's a trust issue, no question about it. But are you saying that no more humanitarian supplies will be allowed through? None of these supplies are going to be allowed through from the Israeli standpoint? Your country is now opposed to this?
Well, I can only speak on behalf of the military. And before that, we got orders from the cabinet that an agreement was made at the request of U.S. President Biden. That request has been fulfilled and honored. And we will see how the situation unfolds. But what's important is also to keep in mind that everything that goes into the Gaza Strip, we have to make sure that it doesn't reach Hamas, because these cowards, it wouldn't be beneath them to steal water from a thirsty baby if they wanted for their combatants in order to fight against us. So we have to make sure, and it is the responsibility of those providing that aid into Gaza to make sure that it doesn't reach Hamas terrorists and that it isn't used for combat operations against us.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, thank you once again for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Coming up, life inside Gaza. We'll get a first-hand account as food, water, medical supplies are running out. More on that in a moment. You're live in the CNN Newsroom.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now, they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And, best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous! Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called, and just 1 day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of.
If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-321-0299. That's 800-321-0299. Call now.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987. Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
The Rafah crossing along the south end of Gaza was briefly opened this morning to allow the first convoy of aid trucks to enter the besieged territory, but as CNN's Salma Al-Badel Aziz shows us, a lot more humanitarian aid is needed and fast.
Hospitals in Gaza are crumbling. Everything is running out, from surgical equipment to medicine. And the tiniest lives are left hanging in the balance. We need power. We need access to clean water. This doctor says, without basic services, this will be a humanitarian catastrophe. Already, 7 hospitals and 21 primary healthcare facilities here are out of service, according to Palestinian officials, because of shortages. After intense diplomatic efforts, prayers of relief at the Rafah border crossing, as a trickle of aid was allowed in from Egypt. But the 20-truck convoy is only a drop in the ocean of need here, equivalent to just 3% of what entered this enclave daily prior to the conflict. More than 200 additional trucks of assistance remain stalled on the Egyptian side, according to the UN, and every hour costs lives. And so far, no civilians can leave the enclave. 10-year-old Palestinian American Aiden is among those trapped.
And we had no place to go. All the streets are bombed. They're literally gone. Power is supposed to go out. How? It's all closed.
Even if people are allowed out, it will be a limited number, most likely only those with foreign passports, sealing some 2 million others, half of them children, into this hellscape. But some refuse to go, even if they could, fearing Israel intends to bomb and besiege them out of their homes, never to return. Even as Mahmoud buries his children, he says he will keep fighting just to exist here. We will still be patient. As long as we are alive on this earth, we will be patient. He says, we will never leave this land. After the October 7th terror attacks, when Hamas killed more than 1,400 people in Israel in a brutal surprise incursion, Israel vowed to wipe out Hamas. But with hundreds of airstrikes pounding the densely populated enclave a day, innocent blood is being spilled. Innocent children were struck down while they were sleeping. This woman shouts. What did they do? Did they carry weapons? These are innocent children who know nothing. Tell us, when will this end? There are calls for a ceasefire to get civilians out of the war zone and allow more aid into Gaza, but the pleas fall on deaf ears so far. Israel is preparing for the next phase of its operations, a potential ground incursion that can only bring more suffering.
That was Salma Abdelaziz reporting. For more on this, I want to go to our next guest. Yusuf Hamash is an advocacy officer for the Norwegian Gaza Refugee Council in Gaza. Yusuf, you're on the phone with us, but if you could describe to us what you're seeing on the ground in Gaza right now.
Thanks for hosting me, Jim. Now, unfortunately, we were forced to flee to Khan Yunis, southern part of Gaza. I live in the northern part in Beit Lahia. And suddenly Khan Yunis city see the double of its population in one day. And you see people here and their need for everything. I don't think Khan Yunis as a city has the capacity to host all these amount of people. So people are always in the crowd in front of bakeries or trying to fill bottles of water. People are from the streets, sleeping in the hospital, sleeping in gardens, living areas, in our shelters. People who are lucky like me have some relatives here to host them. But unfortunately, there is not enough space or food or supplies for anyone here. With lack of electricity, fuel, water. It's a miserable situation here, Jim.
And Yusuf, we're looking at some of the video that you've recorded inside Gaza and some of these bombed out neighborhoods. Tell us about what the humanitarian needs are like right now. I know you've described the convoy of trucks that entered Gaza across the Rafah crossing as being a drop in the ocean in terms of needs. But we were talking to the Israeli Defense Forces spokesman a few moments ago. I don't know if you could hear any of that interview, but from their point of view, it sounds as though they are not in the mood to allow more relief trucks in. I suppose that is not good news, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, we have 2,300,000 citizens in Gaza. We sieged for more than 16 years, and suddenly we have all this massive war above our heads. Even before this war, more than half of the population was really on humanitarian aid. Add to that all of this conflict and lack of water and all of this have been cut from Gaza. These 20 trucks, there were a need for medical supplies. Okay, it might fulfill something, but it's not enough for everyone. As we understood, these 20 trucks are mainly medical supplies. But if you are talking about 1,400,000 have been displaced, having nothing. Even as an example, I killed my house before it was destroyed. I have 2 jeans and 2 t-shirts. Where I could find any things to recover, just to cope again when I'm displaced. People are in need for several things here. The priority is for medical supplies because the health sector in general was collapsing even before, because it hasn't been upgraded because of the siege and all of the other circumstances that everyone understands it. So if they didn't allow for more trucks and aid to come into Gaza, every day things became less and the demand became more. So I don't think we can handle it for extra time. Bombing didn't stop since even when we fled to the south seeking safety, it didn't even stop here. Every couple of minutes there are strikes here and there. So we are lacking our safety and our needs also.
And the Israeli Defense Forces are sounding as though they may begin this ground incursion, that they may move their ground forces into parts of northern Gaza imminently. We don't know for sure when that will happen, but they're making it sound as though that it could happen any day now. What will that do? How will that contribute to the very dire situation from a humanitarian standpoint inside Gaza?
So thousands of people had fled, but if the ground invasion had taken place, the reality that means more and more people will flee. That will make more and more people who became displaced with more needs. We cannot cover even the people who are already displaced, so after that people who are going to be more displaced. Unfortunately, all the scenarios are on the horizon, even if you, especially the ground invasion, it's gonna be a disaster here. Actually, we are in a verge of humanitarian disaster without that. If that happens, I don't think I can imagine how it's gonna be the consequences. It's not only the humanitarian sector, it's more than that. People who are in need, at least people who fled seeking safety here, could manage, settle down, add to them other people if ground invasion happens. It's going to be a disaster, Jim. It's already a disaster, but this is going to increase it for a way that we cannot even take control of anything.
All right. Yusuf Hamash, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still ahead, President Biden is pushing for more money for military and humanitarian assistance for the conflicts in Ukraine and Israel, but the chaos on Capitol Hill means that request can't really move forward at this point. We'll discuss next. You're live in the CNN Newsroom.
Nothing can prepare you for this kind of brutality.
None of us wanted this to happen.
They took babies after they killed their parents. Something you can't imagine.
There's still bombardment ongoing inside Gaza.
Humanitarian conditions there grow more dire.
Are you hopeful still that Hezbollah will stay out of this war?
I'm Sarah Seidner in Tel Aviv with CNN's breaking news coverage of Israel at war.
I wish for the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro. Sean.
Do you mean this one? The one with titanium? It's so light, don't touch it. Maybe stealing wishes from the birthday boy is not your best plan. Switch to Verizon and get iPhone 15 Pro on them. What? Yep, and on an amazing network.
And I don't have to ruin any more birthday parties.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. Let's go get you that iPhone. Here we go. Come on now.
Get iPhone 15 Pro, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All three on us. Only on Verizon.
Feeling sluggish or weighed down? Could be a sign that your digestive system isn't at its best. Metamucil gummies make it easy to get the fiber you need, promoting your digestive health for a better you. Metamucil gummies, the easy way to get your daily fiber.
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today.
The first time you connected your GoDaddy website and your store was also the first time you realized.
Well, we can do anything. Cheesecake cookies? The cookie!
Manage all your sales from one place with a burner that always puts you first. Start today at GoDaddy.com.
ADT Self-Setup, featuring Google Nest products. Now you can easily install your system that's backed by ADT's 24/7 monitoring with no long-term contracts.
Have fun.
So you have a home with no worries. Brought to you by ADT.
Unnecessary action here.
Missing punches.
Unnecessary.
Check reverses.
Unnecessary.
Timesheet corrections.
Unnecessary.
Unentered sick time. Unnecessary. Go! Go!
When you can take this phone, you'll be ready. Make the unnecessary unnecessary. Let your employees do their own payroll.
There are more ways than ever for identity thieves to steal your information. LifeLock alerts you and works to fix problems with a dedicated restoration specialist. Go to lifelock.com.
Patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels, to help you feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive, more passion too.
Here, try a bottle. And trust me, she'll like it too.
Text FIXED to 231231 to get a complimentary sample of Nugenix Total T. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator ever. Absolutely free. That's FIXED to 231231.
I'm Natasha Chen in Los Angeles, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We only represent mesothelioma victims and their families. Call for a free book.
Call
1-800-282-4444 or go to mesobook.com.
As the war between Israel and Hamas rages on, President Biden is asking Congress to approve a military aid package to help support Israel. Mr. Biden is asking for more than $100 billion, mostly in military aid to Israel and Ukraine, but the deal would also pay for security along the U.S.-Mexico border and humanitarian aid to Gaza, as well as other areas in the region. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. I guess, what is your response to what President Biden is asking for here? Would you rather see these aid, these aid requests be divvied up into different buckets, or is it better, perhaps from a strategy standpoint, to lump them all together and because of the current situation up on the Hill?
Jim, thanks for having me. And, I think what President Biden made resolutely clear the other night was that if the United States doesn't prevent and stand by our allies who face Russia, China, Iran, and Hamas on their front lines, we're going to find ourselves on the front lines in that fight as well. And that our national security interests are seriously implicated, and that we have to make sure that there's no tyrant like Putin or a terrorist organization like Hamas that is going to be allowed without response to invade another country, to terrorize another nation's citizens, and the world shrugs its shoulders. Certainly in the United States.
But do you think it makes sense from a strategic standpoint to put all of this aid together in one package, as the president appears to be seeking at this point? Are we going to see a situation perhaps in the coming weeks where some of this might get divided up, or maybe it's just too soon to tell? What do you think?
I mean, look, this is, as an appropriator, this is an emergency national security supplemental appropriations request. And, this is how these things are packaged. They're packaged together. They certainly all have common threats running, whether it's Russia invading Ukraine, the China threat against Taiwan, Hamas's horrendous attack on Israel, backed by Iran. We have to make sure that we are not, look, the Republicans can't even get out of their own way right now. We don't have a speaker and haven't had one for 20 days. It's not like we have a whole lot of time, less than a month before the government shuts down, to pass, individual appropriations bills in order to make sure that we can address our very serious national security interests and protect and stand by our allies like Israel, and ensure that Ukraine it isn't taken over completely by Russia.
And what was your response to the release of those 2 American hostages by Hamas? What did you think of that and the timing of it?
Of relief. I was in the region during the attacks and was in Saudi Arabia, having met with leaders the night before. Woke up that morning to the reports of the rocket attacks and the horrific assault on Israeli citizens. The worst and most significant loss of life, intentional loss of life since the Holocaust for Jews on a single day. I've met this week, Jim, with not only family members, but a young girl, 28 years old, who, Jim, I could have been sitting across from my own daughter. My own daughter spent the whole summer in Israel. All I could think of, if this attack happened 3 months earlier, my daughter was in Tel Aviv for 9 weeks. And, it's there, but for the grace of God to go I. And we have to make sure that we're standing by Israel. Hamas must release the hostages. We have to continue to insist on that. And the United States is working side by side closely with Israel and the International Red Cross and others to ensure that other hostages can get out. But at the same time, Hamas cannot be allowed to just crawl back under its hole to live to fight another day and launch another attack to fulfill their true mission, which is to eradicate Israel and kill Jews.
And Congressman, I guess you probably know not everybody in your party is on the same page on this issue. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian American in Congress, she took some harsh language to the president and what he's been doing, his policy and all of this past week. Let's take a listen.
I truly believe this. I truly believe this in my heart. Americans want a ceasefire. They want it to stop. President Biden, not all America's with you on this one. And you need to wake up and understand that. We are literally watching people commit genocide and killing the vast majority just like this. And we still stand by and say nothing. We will remember this.
Congresswoman, what's your response to that?
Let me just be clear that the loss of civilian lives in any case is tragic and needs to be prevented. And the laws of and the regulations of war, Israel and any combatant needs to abide by. Of course, when you're combating a terrorist organization like Hamas, they don't pay attention to anything like that. They came in and they massacred 1,300 Israelis just because they were Jewish, and captured 200 and still hold, all of them except for 2. What my colleague is doing is fanning flames that I'm sure is resulting in more people dying, endangering people's lives. Fanning those flames, that is outrageous, and to suggest that Americans don't want to make sure that we eradicate a terrorist organization that is ISIS-like. I don't think she's reading the American people's sentiment right now, and I really would ask my colleague to stand down, turn down the volume, and let's make sure that we keep the focus on ensuring that our national security interests are protected and that we can prevent a terrorist organization like Hamas from ever doing what they're doing again, and ensure that Hamas can't put their own people, their innocent Palestinians, in harm's way and cause the death of their own children, women, and elderly by putting them in harm's way, because Hamas uses their own civilians as human shields. And that's been proven over and over.
All right, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me as always.
Appreciate it. Yes, thank you. Coming up, Israel recovered a so-called hostage-taking handbook on the body of one of the terrorists. Next, we'll be joined by someone who has read it. That's live in the CNN Newsroom next.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now, they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And, best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous! Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called, and just 1 day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of. If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to JacuzziBathRemodel.com or call 800-321-0299. That's 800-321-0299. Call now.
Meet Martha. Martha is 75 years old and has been on Medicare for 10 years now. But she's a bit cranky because she heard the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available during the Medicare annual enrollment period. And she wants details.
I'm already on Medicare.
Why should I call and check up on my Medicare plan?
Hi, Martha. Plans and benefits can change each and every year. That's why it's important to call to get your free 2024 Medicare benefits checkup.
I already have my Medicare card. I am not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available, so everyone on Medicare can call to see if a Medicare Advantage plan may be better for you. You can even call to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the coming year.
They probably won't answer the phone.
Well, Martha, if you call 800-882-0987, a licensed insurance agent will speak with you and look up your plan options and see if there is a plan that will benefit your healthcare needs.
Why don't I get these automatically?
Martha, 2024 plans are now available, but you won't get a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan automatically.
I think I called before, so I'm not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 plans are now available, so now's the time to call. So everyone on Medicare should call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period and get your free Medicare benefits checkup today. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. It's free.
Free?
Yes, Martha. The call and no obligation Medicare benefits checkup is free. They can look up your plan options and let you know if you're eligible to enroll in a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan, available in your zip code. Call now and we will see what plans may be best for you.
It's time for me to call and get my free, no obligation Medicare benefits review.
That's right, Martha. I should have just given you the toll-free number. It's on everyone's TV screen now. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
This booklet is instruction guide how to go into a civilian premises, into a kibbutz, a city, a moshav, how to break in. And first thing, what do you do when you find the citizens? You torture them. This is the booklet.
That was the president of Israel referencing a so-called hostage-taking handbook reportedly found with the bodies of Hamas fighters, and it's shedding light on the brutal conditions those hostages might be facing. The Atlantic's Graham Wood was able to obtain a copy of the document. He joins us now to share his reporting. Graham, thanks very much for being with us. It's a really important report, and you say that this handbook tells the hostage takers, it's a how-to guide, I suppose, to, quote, kill hostages expected to resist, others are to be bound and blindfolded, used as human shields. Tell us more about this handbook. It is just it's just awful.
Yeah, it counsels brutality. It's what they call a field manual. I mean, the U.S. military has them, other militaries have them, and part of the Hamas military structure published this, and it was found amid the possessions of some dead Hamas terrorists. And it is exactly as you say. It's advice on how to brutalize hostages, how to get them to comply, how to use electric shocks. And it says right at the beginning, if any of them is going to cause you any trouble, then kill the ones who are going to be problematic. So it does not look like a great situation for anyone who falls into the hands of the people who are working out that manual.
And Graham, it sounds as though based on some of the items in that how-to handbook, I mean, based on some of the reports that we've seen about some of the hostages who were killed, some of the people who were killed before some of the other hostages that were taken back into Gaza, that essentially that's what you saw. Some of these Hamas terrorists were following what is laid out in that handbook, or it appears to be that's what they were doing.
Yeah, you know, there were some limited cases where what they were doing was exactly according to the handbook. What's actually kind of interesting is how much of what happened didn't follow the handbook. You know, not to say that they weren't brutal toward the hostages they had, but the handbook is entirely envisioning situations where there's a prolonged standoff on Israeli soil. So what actually happened was, of course, almost all the hostages got taken back to Gaza really quickly, whereas it seems like what they were planning for, at least the people who had that handbook, were maybe a bunch of standoffs in the kibbutzim, in the territory of Israel, and you know, bargaining for the lives of hostages there rather than consolidating them all on Gaza territory.
Yeah, I mean, do we know why did Hamas take these hostages, so many of them, back to Gaza?
I think the easy answer is because they could. You know, Hamas, just like the Israelis, they were really surprised by how successful they were. I mean, they didn't really encounter any resistance, certainly not with the full strength of the IDF. And, you know, if you have the chance to just spirit them back into Gaza, taking them on golf carts, on motorbikes, in SUVs, then you do that, because in Gaza you can put them in, you know, in tunnels, in dungeons, who knows. Whereas the kind of limited standoffs that were being envisioned, I think, would be less controlled by Hamas. A lot of the things that they were envisioning, they didn't have to do. They didn't have to consolidate food. They didn't have to consolidate batteries and flashlights. That's the kind of thing that's in the manual. If you just take them home, then you can use the food supplies you have.
And does the handbook give any instructions as to what should be received in return for the hostages? Is that part of this?
No. You know, there's clearly a kind of bargaining that is expected. There's also death that's expected. That is, the fighters are told what to do with their own dead if there's an attack, where to bury them, that kind of thing. But there's no instruction about what you should accept for one hostage. There is a clear understanding that each of the lives of the hostages is going to be very valuable, so you should try not to kill them unless you have to. Not out of any sentimentality or scruple about killing Israeli civilians, of course, but because they're valuable.
Right. I mean, that sadly appears to be one of the last bargaining chips Hamas has at this point, because if the hostages are killed, one would think that the Israelis are going to go in full force if those hostages aren't alive anymore. And Graham, if you want to speak to that, go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Hamas would have known, remembered very well, that they had a hostage who they were able to trade to the Israelis for 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. So, you know, each of those lives is extremely valuable in trade.
And what do you make of the 2 American hostages who were released? I mean, did that come as a surprise to you?
It was surprising that there would be a release of hostages. I do know that one thing that the Israelis are looking for very carefully is to see whether there's a second citizenship that applies to many of these hostages. And for many of them, there are Argentine citizens, there are American citizens, and so forth. And the reason they're doing that is because it's one thing to take an Israeli hostage, but if Hamas is also taking another country's citizen hostage, there are other implications to that. So it's probably not a coincidence that these 2 who have been released are American citizens. Not that Hamas loves Americans, but what they really want is Israelis. They want Israelis who they can trade to Israel. They're probably less interested in having Russians or other nationalities in their care.
Yeah. It's just all. And Graham, just one last question. I mean, one of the most disturbing things in all of this is how grandparents, elderly people, senior citizens have been taken hostage. We know there was one case where there were children who were taken hostage, and I believe one of them was a special needs child. It's just unbelievable that these kinds of people would be taken hostage. Any of that in your reporting that stands out to you as to why Hamas did that?
Well, one thing that you do see in the manual is they understand that they are going to be getting whoever they get, just whoever's there at the time. So they say, when you get women and children, you do this with them. When you get men, you do this with them. So they were contemplating from the beginning getting the whole gamut of demography that they might find on site. And so, unfortunately, it's pretty chilling to see this written out as a manual, not something that you do in the heat of battle, but something you plan out well in advance, that you would be taking the lives of children, of the elderly, of non-combatants. That is what they were planning to do, and that's what we see them having done.
Yeah, just absolutely heinous, absolutely barbaric. Graham Wood, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate the reporting. Thanks.
Thank you.
Still ahead, more on the behind-the-scenes diplomatic efforts to get desperately needed aid into Gaza. That's next.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
We asked real customers what they love most about Consumer Cellular.
What I love? The pricing was fantastic. The coverage is great.
It was the same, if not better.
Consumer Cellular provides the exact same premium coverage as the nation's leading carriers for up to half the cost.
Consumer Cellular offers really great coverage. It's the same.
The price is remarkable.
Get unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at $20 a month.
They are always concerned about my needs.
Our customer service team is 100% based in the U.S., and we've received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service again.
I got a great phone and I got to keep my number.
And AARP members get exclusive discounts.
You'd be surprised how much you can actually save.
Switch today and save up to half on your wireless and add extra lines anytime for just $15 each. Call 1-800-918-5095. Go to consumercellular.com or visit a Target store today.
Trust me, you'll be satisfied.
The Solo Stove Bonfire is the hottest new reason to get outside. With its signature 360 airflow design, firewood gets just the right amount of oxygen, and since it's easy to light, it gets going fast. It's America's favorite smokeless fire pit for a reason. Bonfire is made for when those good moments become lasting memories. Save $10 using promo code TV10 at solostove.com.
Want a flatter, tighter tummy? Then check out new AbEX from Sono Bello.
After my pregnancies, my body just never bounced back. I had this stomach overhang that made me self-conscious.
Emotionally, it was really sad. Feeling good up here, but you look down and you don't.
After having my babies, it went a different direction. From here, it went to here, and I just couldn't get rid of that.
Introducing AbEX from Sono Bello. Remove fat and lose excess skin permanently in just one visit.
I got the tummy tuck results without the tummy tuck downtime.
And I finally got the flat stomach I wanted.
I'm able to get back in my size 8 jeans. I feel sexy, I feel confident.
It feels good to feel good and look good.
The mommy belly is gone.
Schedule your free, no obligation consultation and find out how you can get $250 off instantly. Call 1-800-889-4396 or go to sonobello.com.
Hi, I'm Stacy and I've lost 60 pounds on Golo. I decided to try Golo when I had an international flight coming up, and I realized I couldn't fly being the size that I was. My sister-in-law tried Golo and had lost 50 pounds. So I thought I'd give Golo a try. I didn't expect the results I got on Golo. I was hopeful, but I did not expect it to be like this. Golo just makes sense. This plan works.
Change your life at Golo.com. That's GOLO.com.
Do you toss and turn all night and wake up tired and achy? Then you need the Contour Swan, ergonomically designed to cradle you from head to toe, as it helps align your spine for the best night's sleep of your life. Look, the Contour Swan supports your back, shoulders, head, neck, arms, hips, knees, ankles, and feet. Plus it stays cool and hugs you so you won't toss and turn. And it helps align your head at the perfect height, taking pressure off your shoulders and arms, and prevents your knees from touching.
Sleeping with all those pillows, my back hurts. But with the Contour Swan, when I wake up in the morning, I feel great.
My snoring disappeared. I wake up, I'm rested, I've had a full night's sleep. It's fantastic.
Order now, and you can get the Contour Swan, all for 2 easy payments of only $29.99. Complete with washable mesh cover. We'll even ship it for free. So don't delay. Order the Contour Swan today.
I'm Manu Raja on Capitol Hill, and this is CNN.
"28 trucks from the Egyptian Red Crescent passed through the Rafah crossing earlier this morning on their way to provide critical aid to Gaza. President Biden is now addressing that aid delivery. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez is live in Delaware. She's with the president. She has details on this. What's the president saying, Priscilla?
Well, all of this, Jim, comes on the heels of the president's trip to Israel and also following a conversation that President Biden had with Egypt's president where the two agreed for this Rafah crossing to be open. Now, in a statement this afternoon, the president reflected on those conversations, saying, quote, "I made it clear from the outset of this crisis in both my public statements and private conversations that humanitarian assistance was a critical and urgent need that had to get moving. And I expressed my deep personal appreciation for the leadership of the Egyptian president, the Prime Minister of Israel, and the United Nations to allow for this resumption." Now, of course, Jim, this remains a challenge. It's 28 trucks. 8 organizations have said that is a good start, but simply not enough. So this is something that the administration is continuing to work on, but also critically, the president noted in his statement the work that's being done behind the scenes to facilitate for U.S. citizens in Gaza for their exit with family members.
All right, Priscilla Alvarez, thank you very much. We appreciate that report. Still ahead, is there any chance a diplomatic solution could be reached to prevent a ground invasion by Israel into Gaza? I'll talk to the former Israeli ambassador to the United States. That's coming up in a few moments. You're live here in the CNN Newsroom.
Tomorrow, how did Hamas orchestrate their massive attack on Israel? Sarah Seidner explores the history of this secretive and dangerous terror group and what comes next. The whole story with Anderson Cooper, tomorrow at 10 on CNN.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to imagine your future differently.
Thank you for coming together.
With Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format, take courses on your own terms and apply the skills you learn right away.
Hey, guys! Let's do it! Protect your truck with laser-measured WeatherTech floor liners in the front. It's perfect. And rear. Under-seat storage system. No-drill mud flaps. The Tech Liner to protect the bed and tailgate. Bump stop to guard the rear bumper. And the cup foam to secure your phone. Yes! Guys, order your American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year, or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987. Attention Medicare beneficiaries. This is an important message for everyone on Medicare. Attention everyone on Medicare. Today we are talking about 2024 Medicare Advantage plans. If you don't have a 2024 Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. You can call now to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the upcoming year, or find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Everyone on Medicare is encouraged to call. Call now and a licensed insurance agent can look up your plan and see if there are any changes to your current plan in the upcoming year. Call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Part C plans can change every year. Don't wait. Call before the Medicare annual enrollment period ends on December 7th for your free, no obligation 2024 Medicare benefits review. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
Yellow lines are everywhere, guiding us when we need a little help, giving us a heads up, and warning us before we cross them. So that when life doesn't give us a yellow line,
Can you grab that?
we know what to do. Let's keep it preventable.
Imagine the moment when your world comes back into focus. Healthy vision means kids can go to school, parents can provide for their families, and seniors can stay independent. For 60 years, Operation Eyesight has partnered with communities to prevent blindness and restore sight. We believe everyone deserves eye health care regardless of age, gender, or ability to pay. Visit OperationEyesight.com to donate today for all the world to see.
I'm Rafael Romo in Tel Aviv, Israel. This is CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by InVetHelp. Call 1-800-710-0020.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. They can help you get started with your idea.
Call now. 800-710-0020.
Welcome to our continuing coverage of Israel at War. I'm Jim Acosta in Washington. We begin this hour with a growing death toll in the war. Minutes ago, the Hamas-run government media reported that 248 people have died in Gaza just in the last 24 hours. Palestinian health officials say more than 4,300 people have died in Gaza since the start of the war. That number almost certain to rise. Just now, Israel's military says it is increasing airstrikes beginning today. This is new CNN video showing Israeli troops and machinery positioned along the border, awaiting the order to launch a ground invasion of Gaza. Israel's top military leaders are telling commanders that forces, quote, will enter Gaza. For the first time since the war began 2 weeks ago, humanitarian aid briefly rolled into Gaza, but the Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza is closed again after that 20-truck convoy made its way through. Relief agencies, in the meantime, say additional shipments of water, fuel, and food are urgently needed, and that Gaza's hospital system is teetering on the verge of collapse. And one day after being freed by Hamas, an American mother and daughter are one step closer to reaching U.S. soil. Judith Ty-Rodan and her 17-year-old daughter Natalie are reuniting with family today at an Israeli military base. Natalie's father says he is expecting her home by Tuesday for her 18th birthday. And joining me now is the former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. Ambassador Oren, thank you very much for joining us. Let's begin, if we can, with some good news for a change, and that is the release of this American mother and daughter. What's your response to that, and why do you think that this is happening now?
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me. Well, we're delighted that Judith and Natalie are being reunited with their family. We want all the hostages to be reunited with their families unconditionally at once. And that would be very, very welcome. It's no substitute for our need to deal with Hamas, to uproot and destroy Hamas.
And do you think Israel has delayed a ground incursion to allow more time to negotiate the release of hostages? Do you think that's entering the equation here? And do you think that should be urged at this point? If there is some progress in getting hostages out, maybe now is the time to hold off a little bit. What do you think?
No, I think that our clocks, our schedules are not timed to Hamas's clocks. We have many, by the way. For example, we have 360,000 reservists who've been called up. These are people who have left their jobs, their families, their children. They can't remain mobilized forever. That is a clock, certainly. There's a clock of moving the Palestinian civilian population away from the battle area to reduce civilian casualties as much as possible. That is progressive. So there are a number of clocks here, not to give time for Hamas to decide whether it's going to release hostages. You know, as delighted as we were that Judith and Natalie Ra'anana were reunited with their family, we understand what Hamas is doing. It's trying to release hostages in sort of a drip way in order to drive a wedge between Israel and its democratic allies, particularly the United States of America, to get calls for a ceasefire to negotiate more time. What does that mean, a ceasefire? Ceasefire means Hamas wins. Ceasefire means Hamas gets away with massacring, torturing, burning, raping 1,500 of our citizens, firing thousands and thousands of rockets at our neighborhoods, including this neighborhood. Gets away with it. That's what a ceasefire means. And what it means essentially is that Hamas is not holding hostages just in Gaza. Hamas is holding all of us hostage. And we can't let that happen.
And what is your sense as to what the Israeli Defense Forces are doing? There were some expectations, a lot of expectations, really, that this ground incursion was going to begin maybe even a week ago. And I'm just curious why you think that might have been delayed or pushed off a little bit. Did it have something to do with the president's trip? He was making a lot of diplomatic appeals. He's really inserted himself into this crisis. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I'm not a spokesman for the government. I will tell you that my feeling was that they delayed it for the president's visit. They delayed it because of the Anthony Blinken Secretary of State visit. They may have been delayed also because of the hospital incident and clarifying that Israel was not responsible for the death that occurred in the parking lot of that hospital. There are many factors that went into it, but again, our clocks are ticking, and those clocks are, you can't keep 260,000 basically young people, who's the most productive part of our economy, mobilized indefinitely. Morale issue, they're ready to go. As for the actual fighting, unfortunately, I've fought in Gaza several times, and it's a nightmare, Jim. It's not like you see in a movie. It's alleyways and cul-de-sacs that are heavily mined and wired, and then the major fighting is not above ground; it's below the ground, where Hamas has dug countless miles of tunnels and bunkers, all of them mined, all of them booby-trapped, and Israel's going to have to fight below the ground as well.
And I know you don't speak on behalf of the Israeli government, so I mean, let me ask this question, and that is, what do you think of the wisdom of sending in a large-scale ground contingent in to conduct this incursion? Do you think that that is the right approach?
Well, it's certainly wiser than sending in a small contingent. This is a major ground operation. You want to do it with sufficient forces. I think we've learned, though. Remember, we went in on the ground in 2014. It was a very costly operation. We didn't go deep into Gaza. We only went in like a mile or two. This is actually going to go into the heart of Gaza City and root out Hamas. And I think Israel has learned, the Israeli Defense Force have learned to proceed cautiously, with advances being preceded by artillery, by very strong intelligence to find out where the enemy is. In parallel to this will be unceasing efforts to locate those hostages and try to rescue them. And the big challenge there is locating them. We've had hostages in Gaza for years now, and we haven't been able to locate them. Extremely difficult. So all that is going to be proceeding. So I don't think this is going to be a lightning strike. I think it's going to be a very cautious strike, moving, say, alley by alley, tunnel by tunnel, bunker by bunker. And you're going to get some really tough challenges because Hamas puts its major headquarters under hospitals. It puts its headquarters under schools. So you can imagine what a tremendous moral challenge that is, not just a military challenge. We're going to be grappling with all of that in the coming days.
And what unintended consequences do the Israelis need to be worried about at this point? Might you somehow trigger a response from Hezbollah? Might this spill over in ways that perhaps you didn't imagine? I mean, you're talking to an American audience here, and obviously there are folks here in the United States who remember, and you remember all too well, Ambassador, what took place after the United States went into Iraq, went into Afghanistan. They ended up being very lengthy and costly commitments.
Yeah, I just a personal note, back in 2003 when I was merely an historian and not ambassador, I was called to testify in Congress about the impending invasion, and I said invade, but then get out. Don't get involved in state making. So I hope that Israel won't get involved in state making in Gaza as well. We actually have a plan for the morning after. I think that's what President Biden wanted to hear, and I hope it involves some kind of inter-Arab effort, maybe other Palestinian elements there, in order to create a stable government that can really enable Gaza to reach its potential, because there's amazing potential there. It's very fertile ground. What are the unlikely or wild card situations? Yes, Hezbollah could enter, and we're poised and ready for that. My expectation is that Hezbollah will come in at a point where the Israeli army is deeply engaged in Gaza, perhaps tired from fighting for a week or two, and then Hezbollah could strike. We already now have these missiles fired at us from Yemen by the Houthi rebels, who are backed by Iran and the United States. The USS Carney intercepted those missiles, and we're very, very grateful for that. But that's just the opening shot of a salvo. There are pro-Iranian militias in western Iraq that can be fired missiles at us. It's Iran itself that can fire missiles at us. We have to be ready for every single contingency. But the wild card that right now really, it scares me very much, because I've had a lot of personal experience. You're fighting in a densely populated area. Most of the civilians have moved away, but all you need is one tank shell or one artillery shell to hit a building and cause a great number of casualties, and that can change the course of a conflict. This has happened several times. It happened in our 2006 Lebanon war. It happened in an operation in 1996 called Grapes of Wrath against Hezbollah in Lebanon. One shell changed the whole course of the war. You're up against the law of averages.
Yeah, and that leads me to this question is, what are the prospects for the Israelis and the Palestinians to get back to the negotiating table, back to the bargaining table? Or it has, and I guess perhaps this gets to the question of the mindset inside Israel right now, because when I talk to folks about this, they will say, Israelis will say, you folks in the United States, you just don't understand the way we feel right now, how we feel deep down in our bones about this, and why we feel like we need to, that this time is different. Is that perhaps standing in the way of getting back to the bargaining table to some extent?
Let me express it as a whole. One thing is certain, right now Israelis are saying, and the vast majority of Israelis are saying, look, there is a Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. It's headed by a gentleman named Mahmoud Abbas, who's in the 18th year of his 4-year term. He will not stand for re-election because he knows Hamas is going to win in Judea, Samaria, and the West Bank. And what if we had a Hamas Hamas state there, and not just in Gaza, our entire state would be in danger of being wiped out. I'm actually sitting in southern Tel Aviv. I look out my window and I see that area. That's how close it is to here. I wouldn't be in rocket range. I'd be in rifle range. So I understand that. They're saying, most of us are saying we can't risk this right now. But I would express a hope that the elimination of Hamas, which has always been one of the major obstacles to war. I've been involved in the peace process going back to 1993. I was an advisor to the Yitzhak Rabin government during the Oslo process. We tried to make peace with the PLO, with the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas came out and blew us up, but they also killed Palestinians. Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution, doesn't want peace at all. It'll blow it up. So the elimination of Hamas will remove an obstacle. And so, being an optimist, personally, I hope that when Hamas is removed as that obstacle, we can begin to think about some type of reconciliation.
All right, Ambassador Michael Oren, thank you so much for those insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right, and to you as well. And we will have more on the war in Israel ahead, but we're also following the drama up on Capitol Hill. There's been a lot of it. There isn't much the House can do right now until there is a speaker, and they certainly don't have one at this point. We'll talk about the prospects for that coming up next.
I wish for the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro.
Sean, do you mean this one, the one with titanium? Switch to Verizon and get iPhone 15 Pro on them. Wow.
Get iPhone 15 Pro, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All 3 on us. Only on Verizon.
Can I help? Camping was fun, but it looks like we brought the Blitz back with us.
If you have kids, then you really need WeatherTech. It's the ultimate way to kid-proof your vehicle. From laser-measured floor liners for the front and rear, to cargo liner, seat protector, and seat back protectors, we've got you covered.
Your turn.
Find these American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Al, did you make that call?
Honey, we already have Medicare. Why do I need to call?
Alan, the Feldman said we may be able to get additional benefits with a Medicare Advantage plan right here in our zip code.
Honey, what do you mean additional benefits? We turned 65, we got Medicare. That's all there is to it, right?
I'm talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. We have traditional Medicare, which is only Medicare Parts A and B, but not Part C.
Wait. So not everyone on Medicare is a Part C plan?
No. That's why we need to call, because there may be plans available with additional benefits.
What kind of extra benefits?
If you're on Original Medicare, call 800-679-8057 now during the Medicare annual enrollment period to speak with a licensed insurance agent. Give them your zip code and see if there's a Part C plan with additional benefits available to you in your area that may better fit your needs. If you don't have a Medicare Part C plan, call now because there may be plans with additional benefits available. Medicare plans and benefits can change each and every year, and that's why it's important to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the coming year. If you're on Medicare, you can call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period, even if you called last year. If you feel like your original Medicare plan isn't giving you everything you need, call to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits. You don't get a plan with additional benefits automatically, so call to speak with a licensed insurance agent right now during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Remember, you don't get Medicare Part C plan benefits automatically. Call now for your free 2024 no-obligation Medicare benefits review. Call 800-679-8057. 800-679-8057.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizone. Ozempic! I got the power of 3. I lowered my A1C, CD risk, and lost some weight.
In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it.
I'm under 7.
Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, or death in adults also with known heart disease.
I'm lowering my risk.
Adults lost up to 14 pounds.
I lost some weight.
Ozempic isn't for people with type 1 diabetes. Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take Ozempic if you or your family ever had medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2 or if allergic to it. Stop Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an
allergic reaction. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Gallbladder problems may occur. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes. Taking Ozempic with a sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Living with type 2 diabetes?
Ask about the power of 3 with Ozempic.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I lost 52 pounds on Golo. On other diets, I could barely lose 10 to 15 pounds. Thanks to Golo, I've lost 27% of my body weight, and it was easy.
Breaking news to tell you about out of Detroit. A Detroit synagogue says its president has died after police say a woman was found with multiple stab wounds outside of her home this morning. We're still piecing together what exactly has taken place, but CNN's Polo Sandoval joins us now with more. Polo, we know it's early, but tell us what we know right now.
There's a lot that we don't know. What we do know, though, is that the Detroit community is certainly in mourning after they learned of the death of the president of the board of the downtown synagogue there in Detroit. The synagogue identifying their president as Samantha Wool. Separately, Detroit police confirming the death of an individual. Initially, their officers were called out to that person's home earlier this morning and found an unresponsive individual, according to Detroit police, lying on the ground. Emergency medical personnel later declared that individual dead. While at that scene, police officers noticed a trail of blood that was leading to the victim's home, which they believe is where the stabbing took place. But again, separately, what you have now is the downtown synagogue in Detroit confirming the death of the president of their board, Samantha Wool. Already some widespread reaction that we're getting from elected officials, including Representative Elise Slotkin, who took to social media saying that Wool actually at one point even worked for her, was on her staff. The representative writing that Wool did for her team as deputy district director, what came so naturally to Wool, that representative writing that she often helped others and served constituents separately in politics and in the Jewish community. She dedicated her short life to building an understanding across faiths, bringing light in the face of darkness. That, again, a statement that was released by Representative Elisa Slotkin about Samantha Wool. Still, so many questions. Of course, the most important one is a possible motive in Wool's death. Homicide investigators in Detroit are on the case right now. They say they don't plan on hosting any sort of press conferences anytime soon. However, we are still pressing them for more information to try to learn more about the death of this individual that's set as the president of the board of the downtown synagogue in Detroit. Jim.
All right, Polo Sandoval, we'll stay on top of it. Thanks so much. The World Health Organization says hospitals in Gaza have reached a, quote, breaking point. The first convoy of trucks entered into Gaza this morning carrying vital aid, including trauma medicines and emergency relief supplies, life-saving health supplies. But Palestinian officials say that's not enough. And joining me now to talk about this is the spokesperson for the Palestine Red Crescent Society, Nabal Farsak. Nabal, thank you very much for being with us. We know your organization is working to make sure these supplies reach the right recipients. What can you tell us about this delivery this morning? And I guess the other pressing question is when will more supply aid relief come in?
Thanks for having me. So the Palestine Red Crescent today has received about 20 trucks from the Egyptian Red Crescent, which has water, food, medical supplies, and medicine. The Palestine Red Crescent teams, along with UNRWA, were able to unload the trucks to UNRWA trucks in Gaza Strip, which was moved to UNRWA warehouses. Tomorrow, UNRWA will start distributing the aid based on a list that was received from the Egyptian Red Crescent. There is some aid for the WHO, WFP, along for the Palestine Red Crescent. Hopefully, tomorrow will start the distribution process to deliver the aid to the most needy areas in Gaza. Basically, one of the most needy areas is just hospitals, where hospitals now are lacking everything, facing a great shortage in medicine and medical supplies. It's worth mentioning that this first shipment of the humanitarian aid does not include fuel, although fuel is extremely needed to continue the operation of hospitals. As we all know, all hospitals in Gaza are now running out of the fuel which is needed to have the electricity. Without having the fuel into Gaza, that's mean the death of thousands of Palestinian civilians who are patients injured in the hospitals. Also, all ambulances will stop running, stop being able to provide their emergency medical services, along with bakeries who also need electricity. They're gonna stop having bread. It's gonna be absolutely a humanitarian catastrophic.
And Naval, do you know, can you confirm that these trucks have reached the right recipients, the intended recipients of this aid? What can you tell us about more trucks coming in?
Yes, as I said, the trucks now are in UNRWA warehouses. Tomorrow will start the distribution process. UNRWA will handle the distribution to give the aid to where it should go according to a list that was received from the Egyptian Red Crescent. As far as like the situation, it's just this kind of aid is just a drop. It's just a drop in the ocean because there's a huge need in Gaza. Whether we're talking about 2 million Palestinian civilians who are in need for food and water because they don't have food and water, or also talking about hospitals. All hospitals in Gaza, not only one, are lacking medicine and medical supplies as well as fuel. So hopefully in the upcoming days, much aid will be allowed to get into Gaza. Especially we're talking about dozens of trucks are still waiting at Rafah crossing border, still waiting to get the approval to be in. We call on the international community to continue advocating to ensure the continuity of aid to be into Gaza. This process should not be hindered. Also, not only from Rafah crossing border, but through all crossing borders, even controlled from the Israeli occupation forces, because according to the international law, it is the responsibility of Israel as an occupying power to ensure to fulfill the basic humanitarian need of civilians in Gaza, along with medical supplies and medicines that is urgently needed to the continuity of work of hospitals.
Yeah, but Naval, we talked to a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces earlier on in this program, and he indicated that the IDF is not really thrilled with the idea of allowing more of these trucks in because they fear that these supplies will be delivered to the hands of Hamas. Can you verify whether or not that is the case? How do you know?
I just said it's their responsibility to ensure the entry of trucks from the borders that is controlled by the Israeli occupation forces, to allow the entry of trucks, because it's the responsibility of the occupying power to ensure the basic needs of civilians, even during conflict times. This is according to the international law. According to what happened today, as I just highlighted, all the aid is now at UNRWA warehouses. We all know UNRWA, it should be accredited organization along with the Palestine Red Crescent. We're part of the international movement of the Red Cross and Red Crescent. We believe in humanity, neutrality, and impartiality, and our role is just to ensure providing the people in Gaza with the basic humanitarian needs. So we will continue providing our humanitarian aid, trying to alleviate the suffering of Palestinians. As I just said, what was allowed to get in is only a drop in the ocean. We still count on the international community to continue advocating for the entry of aid without any restrictions or without any restrictions, because simply the situation doesn't handle any more delay. The situation is just catastrophic. Now, hospitals are witnessing a collapse status due to running out of fuel, as well as medical supplies and medicines. Besides, more than 2 million people who are without food and water. 1 million Palestinians have been internally displaced and now are just sheltering either in schools or even at hospital without having any basic needs. It's just crucial for the international community to take a step for humanity and try to fulfill the needs of Palestinian civilians as well as hospitals. Hospitals, medical facilities, and personnel should not be a target for Israeli occupation forces, whether targeting the hospitals immediately by bombarding the hospitals or even denying the access of medical supplies. Our hospital now, Al-Quds Hospital, is still under the threat of being bombed at any moment because of the evacuation
I don't know if you can hear me, Nabal
orders
Farsakh.
from the Israeli occupation forces.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, Nabal Farsakh. And we should know, you did say something about Israeli bombardment of hospitals. There was that hospital blast that occurred this past week. It has been determined by the Israeli forces and the United States, as well as other international officials, that was the result of an errant rocket strike that came from inside Gaza, as you know. But all right, Nabal Farsakh,
I
thank you
just
very much for your
said
time.
it's our hospital, Al-Quds Hospital. It's now under the threat of being bombed. We have
No, I understand
received
that.
a warning from Israeli occupation forces. Yesterday, they called us threatening to and demanding immediate evacuation because Al-Quds
Nabal
Hospital
Farsakh, thank you
will
very
be
much for your
bombarded.
time.
That's not only
Thank
the
you.
case of our hospital, along with other 24 hospitals.
Okay, we just have to make sure that we're passing on accurate information. Nabal Farsakh, thank you very much for your time. We'll be right back.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines, taking you to the heart of the story
We start with breaking news for you this evening. We are just about 3 miles from the Gaza border.
and breaking through the noise.
Interesting conversation about where we are in America right now.
The day's biggest stories.
What we have been seeing in Israel is unprecedented.
The night's most essential reporting.
It's not about what I believe, it's about whether there is evidence.
This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Sore throat got your tongue? Mucinex Insta-Sue Sore Throat Medicated Drops. Uniquely formulated for rapid relief that lasts and lasts. That's my baby! Get Mucinex Insta-Sue. It's comeback season.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Sure, you can get data everywhere, but do you have to use it all the time? That's not really you. With TracFone, you can get great coverage all on nationwide 5G for a lot less. Plans start at $15 a month, no contract. TracFone.
Stars Play in Abu Dhabi is the region's leading streaming service that brings you the magic of films and the excitement of sports to your favorite device, be it a television or your mobile phone. With a business like ours, we need a range of talent from technology as well as creative. We found Abu Dhabi to be our hub for accessing that type of talent.
The first time you made a sale online with GoDaddy was also the first time you heard of a town named Dinosaur, Colorado.
Just got an order from Dinosaur, Colorado.
Start an easy-to-build, powerful website for free with a partner that always puts you first. Start for free at GoDaddy.com.
The all-new Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic automatically responds to snoring. So no more hiding under your pillow, because this system actually detects snoring, then adjusts to help reduce it. Experience the mattress ranked #1 in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power 4 years in a row.
My frequent heartburn had me taking antacid after antacid all day long. But with Prilosec OTC, just 1 pill a day blocks heartburn for a full 24 hours. For one and done heartburn relief, Prilosec OTC, 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
There are more identity threats than you realize. LifeLock alerts you and works to fix problems with a dedicated restoration specialist. Go to lifelock.com.
If addiction is making you feel lost and alone, here is real help. The John Volkin Academy is recognized as one of the best addiction treatment programs in North America because their long-term holistic approach to recovery goes far beyond initial drug and alcohol treatment. Program participants also progress physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually. It all assures lifelong sobriety. If you've been disappointed with treatment before, come and experience real recovery. The John Volkin Academy. We change lives. Learn more at Volkin.org.
Available in your area. I call every year to see what plans are available in my area.
I call every year to make sure my doctors are still covered under my plan.
They work with multiple insurance companies across the nation.
so you'll have choices from a variety of plans. The Medicare annual enrollment period has a deadline. Millions have called. You should too. Call to speak to a licensed insurance agent. Call 1-800-354-1022. Call now.
I'm Melanie Zanona in Washington, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We only represent mesothelioma victims and their families. Call for a free book.
Call 800-282-4444 or go to Mesobook.com.
It's back to the drawing board for House Republicans as they continue their struggle to elect a new Speaker of the House. On Friday, Republican lawmakers voted to pull the plug on Jim Jordan's Speaker run after he lost in a third round of voting, setting the stage for new candidates to emerge. And joining us now to discuss is Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee. He's one of 8 lawmakers who voted to oust Kevin McCarthy as a Speaker. Congressman, great to see you. Thanks for doing this. Where do we go from here? Where does the House go from here? We saw the House Majority Whip Tom Emmer announce that he's running for Speaker. Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana declared he's running. Do you have somebody you're supporting at this point?
Well, if I did, Jim, it would probably tank them, being that I'm one of the 8. I'm probably not one of the more popular people in Congress right now. So I think I'll just keep that between me and those people that I support.
Well, to that point, the former Speaker Kevin McCarthy is calling you and the other 7 Republicans out for what's happening right now. Let's listen to this. Hopefully you can hear it. We'll talk to you about it on the other side.
Sure.
The Crazy Eights, led by Gates, the amount of damage they have done to this party and to this country is insurmountable. We are in a very bad position as a party, one that has won the majority, one that America has trusted us with, that a simple 8 people have put us in this place.
Congressman, he's calling you the Crazy Eights.
Well, I've been called worse. The trouble is that we followed the rules that Kevin McCarthy voted on, that were voted on unanimously by our conference, and we followed them to a T. And if they didn't like those rules, they shouldn't have put them in place. But the truth of the matter is, our former leadership just kept us going down the road. We ran up $1 trillion in debt in 3 months. We took off the whole month of August, 2 weeks into September, knowing that September 30th was the end of our fiscal year. And I appreciate his speechwriters and their clever writings, but that doesn't serve us very well. And also under his leadership, we would have been off the last week anyway. And then after we came through that almost shutdown of our government, we came back and what did we do? We rushed to the floor on that Monday and named 2 post offices. So,
well, do you think that you're going to need a Speaker sooner or later? And do you think you would have had one by now? If perhaps somebody was able to emerge that you could get behind, or is this one of those situations where this is going to take a while?
Sure, I supported everyone. I supported Scalise, and I supported Jim Jordan as well. And we just didn't get there. We've got a deep bench. We're going to be okay. We'll have a couple more weeks to work on this budget situation. The continued resolution, which is what they always seem to pass. But yeah, I think we're going to be okay. I'm not getting too worked up about it.
You don't think it's a bad look that the House of Representatives for the United States government doesn't have a Speaker of the House?
Yeah, of course I do. But it's the situation we're in. It doesn't negate the fact that we just kept running up that debt, and we're going to crush our whole system if we don't get control of that debt. We're paying $1 trillion a year just in interest alone to China. And under what model does it work out where you take in $4.6 trillion and spend $7 trillion? It's what we do every year, and yet enough is enough. We've got to take the fiscal bull by the horns. And that's,
but Congressman, one of the things that got in the way of Jim Jordan, it seems, is that there were some brass knuckles tactics being employed, and that there were members of Congress being threatened, spouses of members of Congress being threatened to support Jim Jordan or else. And I'm just wondering what you thought of that, and do you know who was behind that? What was going on with that?
No, I don't. And if it was, we're probably a semi-family show, but I would have taken that in my own hands. I've lived with death threats, sexual violence against threats against members of my family, and Capitol Hill Police doesn't even, they told me they didn't consider it a real threat. You know, so I've lived with that. I spent over $30,000 on home security on our farm. You can't put your foot or your boot on my farm without me having a picture of you or something, because there's a picture of 8 or 9 people in my office that they're back in the mail room, and if they were to show up, we're supposed to call the U.S. Marshals because they are considered to be dangerous, so that have made threats against us.
But do you think that backfired on Jordan to some extent, because it sounds as though these threats really cropped up when he was the one who was up for speaker, and so I wonder if that is something that perhaps members there might want to rethink. And do you think we're going to see more of that?
It didn't help, but I don't think Jim orchestrated it, because if you really look at there was 3 groups that were against Jim. You had the appropriators, and as you know, on Capitol Hill, there's 3 parties. There's Republicans, Democrats, and appropriators. And they didn't like the fact that Jim had talked about passing a budget of all things, which we're required to do by law, because when you do the continued resolutions, you know as well as I do, Jim, that all that does is it passes the budget that we had before, and you add on all the other lobbyists and special interest groups that you grease. Then you had a freshman group, primarily those out of New York and very purple districts, and then you had folks that, for lack of another term, are called war hawks, because they support the American military, and they support every war we're in and every war we're about to get in. So those were actually the 3 groups that were against adding on the threats.
And what about the Patrick McHenry idea, giving the current Speaker Pro Tem Patrick McHenry more power? That way you can get things potentially accomplished between now and the end of the year, prevent a government shutdown, get aid to Israel, those sorts of things. You can't really do anything right now.
Yes, sir.
The Congress is paralyzed.
Yes, sir. Well, we don't know constitutionally if that's legal or not. And also it pushes, we just won't ever get a speaker if we do that. It'll be just like passing a budget. We'll have a speaker light, so to speak. And I don't like bow ties, but I like Patrick McHenry. He wears a bow tie. But and he's not comfortable in that role either, and we just because of the constitutional suspect nature of that. So I think what we better do is just hold our feet to the fire. We should have not gone home. We were championing and yelling for staying there and finishing our business, which is what we should do. And I think that would send a clear message to America that we mean business, and we're trying to get this thing wrapped up, and we will. But as far as Israel goes, you know, the president has that $100 billion aid package, and only $10 billion of it, 10% of it goes to Israel, oddly enough. The majority of it goes to Ukraine, I believe. And honestly, we haven't even seen that. The Senate hasn't seen that.
We'll double check those numbers, but we'll double check those numbers. But I think that there is a need to get that aid passed, is there not? And are you saying that you're opposed to that at a moment like this?
No, sir. I'm not opposed to the aid to Israel. I'm opposed to any more aid to Ukraine, and the president's making it a political issue by tying those 2 things or 3 things together. And he made a very specific point.
Doesn't he have a cause or an inclination to do that sort of thing when we don't even have a Speaker of the House? There's no Speaker of the House right now, so one might think you might have to bundle some things together, or else you might not get anything passed. Given the current state of affairs.
That was what that's what they proposed before. It'd be 2 simple bills, Jim. All they'd have to do is send 2 bills over. Both would pass, and then others that we've sent to Ukraine. So, and you know, he sent hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine without congressional approval. He's already sent largest carrier group in the world there. We've got 12 ships going to the Med. We've got, we send them $3.6 billion a year on auto check. Their guns, their armaments are stacked. And the last thing that Israel needs any more interference in the United States of America. Let them fight this war. They know how to fight those wars. And our wars, our rules of engagement would hamper them, I do believe, as well. So I think they're going to be fine. We're going to get back to elect a speaker, and we're going to take care of Israel.
All right, Congressman Richard, thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll follow up on some of those points at another time.
Go Vol.
Thanks for the time. Okay, thanks a lot. Live report from Israel straight ahead. Be right back.
I don't expect to look 38 at do want to feel great, and I want to look great.
CeraVital is an award-winning beauty supplement at Ulta. Get started today at CeraVital.com.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now, they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And, best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous! Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called, and just 1 day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of. If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to JacuzziBathRemodel.com or call 800-321-0299. That's 800-321-0299. Call now.
F-R-E-E. Oh, yeah, free. Get a free eye exam when you buy 2 pairs of glasses starting at just $79.95. Book an exam today at americasbest.com.
Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time for a fresh approach to pet food. Developed with vets, made from real meat and veggies, portioned for your dog, and delivered right to your door. It's smarter, healthier pet food.
This wasn't no bear. It was like a bear squatch.
Dad, what's a bear squatch?
It's a cross between a bear and a sass. It's made up. He's usually sleeping.
He'll never sleep again.
If you're smart enough to know a good wireless deal when you see one, listen up. And if you're not, we'll give you a minute. Smart enough now? Good. At Consumer Cellular, we're all about transparency. We deliver premium wireless coverage for up to half of what the largest carriers charge. How do we do it? I'll show you. The truth is, we don't actually own those towers. We just pay to use them. And while someone else maintains that great nationwide 5G network, we've got more time to focus on something else. You. Boom! Say hello to one of our 100% US-based customer service call centers. If you need help or want to make the easy switch, you can call and talk to a real person in Arizona like Danae here.
Yep, I'm definitely a real person, not a robot.
Prove it. Amazing coverage and award-winning service, all with no contract. Just give us a call at this number.
Switch to Consumer Cellular now and get unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at only $20 a month.
Sidney Powell, who once vowed to release the Kraken to help Donald Trump by pushing unsubstantiated claims of election fraud, has flipped on the former president. Here's what she said after the 2020 election.
We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now. President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it. And we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
But this week, Sidney Powell did back down. The former Trump attorney struck a different tone, pleading guilty to taking part in a conspiracy to interfere with the election to keep Trump in power. And yesterday, another Trump attorney, Kenneth Chesebro, pleaded guilty in the case. As part of their plea deals, both Powell and Chesebro agreed to testify truthfully in future trials against their co-defendants, which include former President Donald Trump. Let's bring in defense attorney Shan Wu, a former federal prosecutor. Shan, how shocked were you when the Sidney Powell news came down and then Kenneth Chesebro 1 day later?
More shocked with Chesborough, Jim Powell. It sort of seemed like the pressure was really mounting on her. Chesborough was a little bit of a surprise, that quick turnaround. He seemed, I don't know, it seemed like, I'm not sure what he was bowing to in terms of the pressure. I think, interestingly, these are significant victories for the prosecution. I'm not quite sure the term flipping fully applies to them. Theoretically, it does. They have to give truthful testimony. These don't look like the traditional full cooperation agreements, especially when you hear some of the comments from the lawyers afterwards. I think they're going to try to do what I call the Weisselberg walk. That's the CFO in the New York case, where he pleads guilty and then he tries to avoid being charged with perjury, but he still walks a very tight line trying not to incriminate folks like Trump. And I think we're going to see that happen with both of these defendants.
That's fascinating. And so, Shane, if that happens, what do prosecutors and what does the judge do, frankly?
If it's done skillfully from a defense counsel standpoint, the prosecutors can try to say, hey, you're not cooperating, you're perjuring yourself, which is always hard since people can claim, I don't remember. If they want to argue that he or she has breached the agreement, the plea agreement to testify truthfully, they'll have to bring a motion and it'll be the subject of litigation within that case. So the immediate remedy really isn't there, and they may be counting on that to avoid having to really fully flip in the sense that we think of that as happening.
And so we should not be jumping to conclusions here that Sidney Powell is going to spill the beans on what was going on behind closed doors in the Oval Office. Is that what you're saying, Shane? Because that's a very interesting perspective that you're bringing up. A lot of folks thought, okay, the Kraken is cracked. We're going to get all this information at the trials. And you're saying that just might not be the case.
I think so. I mean, she certainly had to admit guilt, and some beans definitely have been spilled already. They had to make proffers. I would just sort of manage expectations a little bit about just how fully a spilling of the beans she's going to make.
And do you think these were sweetheart deals for Powell and Chesborough? I mean, they kind of got away with a slap on the wrist here. But I suppose if you're Sidney Powell and you're facing the prospect of hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal bills and so on, and possibly going to prison, this looks pretty good. I can't imagine that Fani Willis would offer this kind of a deal without the expectation that she's going to get something in return.
I agree. I think they are very good deals for them, even though they're far less than what they're charged with. It's still a burden on anyone to take that hit in terms of the conviction. And for the prosecutors, this is a very significant victory. I mean, they're whittling down these defendants who at one point were so adamantly denying any culpability, and they're beginning to whittle them down. And whatever truthful testimony they do get is going to be helpful for their case. So it's unquestionably a big victory for the prosecutors.
And do you think that this is sort of like a mob or mafia case where you get the little guy to flip to help get the big guy up the food chain? Is that potentially what we might see here? Or might we see others flip? I mean, you know, there was some talk of perhaps Rudy Giuliani might do something like this, but then they all of a sudden started raising money for his legal bills.
Yeah, I don't think the traditional mafia model really works here. Those are people much lower down in the food chain. I do think we may see other people cutting deals, even Giuliani. But again, I would caution against the idea that they're going to completely just give up Donald Trump. I think they're going to be fighting to not do that while still trying to protect themselves.
Yeah. Well, you raise an interesting question, and that is whether we're going to see more games being played, and that potentially could delay things, which of course plays right into the Trump playbook. Shan, as always, very interesting insights. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back.
Why didn't we do this last year?
Before you were preventing migraine with Qulipta? Remember the pain? Cancel plans, the worry?
That was then. And look at me now. You'll never truly forget migraine, but Qulipta reduces attacks, making 0 migraine days possible. It's the only pill of its kind that blocks CGRP and is approved to prevent migraine of any frequency. To help give you that forget-you-get-migraine feeling.
Don't take if allergic to Qulipta. Most common side effects are nausea, constipation, and sleepiness. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Qulipta, the forget-you-get-migraine medicine.
We will no longer be prisoners to you, Winter. We shall fly south to where the courts are eternally bright, and we will do so with Consumer Cellular. The same coverage for up to half the cost. When freedom calls, we're here to answer.
To give your teeth a dentist clean feeling, start with a round brush head, add power, and you've got Oral-B. Round cleans better by surrounding each tooth to remove 100% more plaque for a superior clean. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
My most important kitchen tool? My brain. So I choose new Nariva Ultra. Unlike some others, it supports 7 brain health indicators, including mental alertness, from 1 serving to help keep me sharp. Try new Nariva Ultra. Think bigger.
Introducing Senecot Laxative Gummies.
I'm the easy way to relieve occasional constipation overnight.
Just take before bed, and the next morning,
It's showtime! And I've got mixed berry flavor.
Senecot Laxative Gummies.
Easy relief, the gummy way.
Lowering bad cholesterol can be hard, even with a statin. Diets and exercise add to the struggle. Today it's possible to go from struggle to cholesterol success with Leqvio. With a statin, Leqvio is proven to lower bad cholesterol by 50%. And keep it low with 2 doses a year. Common side effects were injection site reaction, joint pain, and chest cold. Ask your doctor about twice yearly Leqvio. Lower, longer Leqvio.
I was a teacher for 30 years, and today I'm a grandmother of 9. Technology is essential to our everyday lives, and that's why I'm concerned about our foreign adversaries' influence over the internet. Our adversaries believe in censorship and control. That's not the future I want for my grandchildren or yours. Congress needs to protect our democratic values and strengthen, not weaken, American technology.
She runs and plays like a puppy again.
His number 2's perfect. He's a brand new dog all in less than a year.
When people switch their dog's food from kibble to the farmer's dog, they often say that it feels like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's simply fresh meat and vegetables with all the nutrients dogs need, instead of dried pellets. Just food made for the health of dogs, delivered in packs portioned for your dog. It's amazing what real food can do.
Everybody's talking about the secret weapon for 100% drug-free blood sugar support. Doctor's Preferred Gluco Gold contains the full research dose of berberine that helps keep your blood sugar in the normal range, plus 3 other powerful ingredients. It's made a great difference in my life. Gluco Gold is flying off shelves nationwide, but now's your chance to try a complimentary bottle by texting PURSUE to 321-321.
It really does work.
Now's your chance to join the over 30,000 people who have claimed their complimentary bottle and are feeling great.
It keeps my sugar levels right where I want it.
Unleash your new secret weapon for drug-free blood sugar support to make sure your next checkup is better than your last.
This is a great product for sugar control.
You can only get your complimentary bottle by texting PURSUE to 321-321. And if you text right now, you'll receive a bottle of vitamin D3 immune support absolutely free.
Doctors Preferred. Better science, better results.
I'm Rahel Solomon in New York, and this is CNN.
An IDF spokesman says while Israel's top priority is getting its hostages back, Israeli troops are amassing on the southern border with Gaza, and a potential ground invasion looks increasingly imminent. CNN's Brian Todd has more on this.
Meeting with soldiers in recent days, Israel's defense minister said, quote, Gaza will never return to what it was. An ominous signal of what's to come when Israel launches its expected ground invasion of Gaza.
One of the biggest forces in the world who's prepared for entering a contested environment like this is the IDF. But of course, there is no bloodless war. They'll take a lot of casualties, and I think they know that.
With more than 300,000 soldiers and reservists getting ready for combat, military analysts expect the Israelis to launch the invasion on multiple fronts.
This is Gaza City, and what we can expect is for the Israeli forces to most likely go in this way and this way. Probably the preponderance of force will be in this direction into Gaza City.
Inside Gaza, experts say this will be urban combat, possibly even tougher than what was seen in this footage from Israel's 2014 invasion of Gaza. Block to block, building to building, and vicious. The Israelis facing an enemy that knows every corner.
Major challenge is that the defenders had time to prepare, and that no matter what, you have to move forward and basically wait until the defender shoots you.
Look how narrow this alleyway is. Look how this soldier has to point up to see if there are any fighters above him in these areas. This is a perfect place for these fighters to be situated, for them to rain down fire.
Often caught in the crossfire, Palestinian civilians, Experts say Hamas does not shy away from using civilians as human shields in a combat environment.
Hamas wanted all those people to stay. It's blown up, put in barricades, it's destroyed transit areas and other things in an effort to fix them in place.
To ambush the Israelis, analysts say Hamas will use sophisticated IEDs, snipers hidden on upper floors of buildings. Another Hamas asset the Israelis will have to navigate, hundreds of miles of tunnels, known as the Gaza Metro.
With command controls and communication rooms and supply rooms and piers for launching rockets.
And there's the added complication of the hostages Hamas is holding. While 2 hostages have just been released, there are likely up to 200 more still inside Gaza, many of whom analysts say could be held in the tunnels.
Does that mean that they'll go into the tunnels, the Israelis, to try to get them, or is it just too dangerous?
It's very dangerous, but in certain circumstances, the Israelis will probably feel the need to go into these tunnels.
And the dangers don't end, even in the areas that the Israelis will have secured. Former CIA Director David Petraeus told CNN that in the areas they capture, the Israelis will then have to conduct counterinsurgency operations because Hamas and its allies will try to come back. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Up next, we'll talk to a father whose son is one of the many being held hostage right now. That man is pleading for his release because of the life-saving medication his son needs. That's next. You're live in the CNN Newsroom.
I'm hearing different ways for me to screen for colon cancer.
It's time to use my voice. I've got a choice, or they won't answer.
I sat down with my doc. We had a talk. Knew just what to say.
I asked for Cologuard and did it my way.
Cologuard is a one-of-a-kind way to screen for colon cancer that's effective and non-invasive. It's for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider for Cologuard.
I did it my way.
I wish for the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro.
Sean, do you mean this one, the one with titanium? Switch to Verizon and get iPhone 15 Pro on them. Wow.
Get iPhone 15 Pro, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All 3 on us. Only on Verizon.
If you're on Medicare, remember, the annual enrollment period is here. The time to choose your coverage begins October 15th and ends December 7th. So call United Healthcare and see how you can get more of what matters with our broad range of plans, including an AARP Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. It can combine your hospital and doctor coverage with Part D prescription drug coverage and more, all in one simple plan. These plans are made to support your whole health with $0 annual physical exams, $0 lab tests, and $0 preventive care like mammograms and colonoscopies. And you'll get more for your Medicare dollar with $0 copays on most covered dental services, a $0 eye exam, and an allowance for eyewear, plus $0 copays on hundreds of prescriptions at the pharmacy or by mail. Now's the time to look at United Healthcare's variety of plans. So give us a call to learn more about coverage options in your area. With our Right Plan promise, you have our commitment to helping you find the right plan for your needs. And to help make life with Medicare simpler, you'll get the all-in-one member U-Card. Only from United Healthcare, the U-Card is your United Healthcare member ID and much more. Show your U-Card when you visit your primary care provider, dentist, or eye doctor, or fill a prescription at the pharmacy. And use it to access Medicare Advantage's largest national network of providers. You can count on United Healthcare to help you get the care you need when you need it. Enrollment ends December 7th. Now's the time to learn more about America's most chosen Medicare Advantage plans and how they can open doors to a simpler healthcare experience with the all-in-one U-Card. Call United Healthcare today about the only Medicare Advantage plans with the AARP name and get more of what matters to you.
It can be hard to keep track of which vaccines are recommended and when. The Canadian Lung Association can help. Getting a COVID-19 booster shot this fall will help protect you against the more recent variants of the virus that causes COVID-19. This is especially important if you're one of the millions of Canadians living with chronic lung disease. If you're 65 or older, have a compromised immune system, or are otherwise at high risk, speak to your healthcare provider about getting vaccinated against pneumonia. For more information, visit lung.ca.
New law passed by Congress now allows veterans and survivors to seek damages for harm from exposure to contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. Call Saddle Rock Legal Group to discuss your case now.
Call 1-800-814-9977.
Football players, we take a beating. You're thinking about smacking the running back in the hole. You're not thinking about the repetitive head impacts that occur during a season throughout a career. Help protect your brain with QCOP.
Collar up.
I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Audiobook Network. Authors tell your story. Produce an audiobook with us.
Want to earn more profits and find a new audience for your published book? Produce an audiobook. We handle narration, production, and digital distribution.
800-753-8559.
You are live in the CNN newsroom. I'm Jim Acosta in Washington. My colleague Aaron Burnett is live in Tel Aviv, Israel. And we have several major developments that we're following right now. A short time ago, Israel's military announced it is increasing airstrikes beginning today and says it will launch a ground incursion when conditions are right. This is new CNN video from just outside the Gaza border. Dozens of Israeli tanks, armored personnel carriers, even bulldozers are gathered in this area, and several other groupings are nearby to some of the video you're seeing right there. After days of agonizing delays, humanitarian aid has rolled into Gaza for the first time since the war began 2 weeks ago. The Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza is closed again after the 20-truck convoy made its way through. Relief agencies say many more massive shipments of water, fuel, and food are urgently needed, and that Gaza's hospital system is teetering on the verge of collapse.
Well, an American mother and daughter are one step closer to being back home in America a day after being freed by Hamas. Judith Tai Ryanan and her 17-year-old daughter Natalie are reuniting with family today at an Israeli military base here. Natalie's father says he's expecting her home by Tuesday. That is when she will turn 18.
I've been waiting for this moment for a long time, for 2 weeks. I haven't been sleeping for 2 weeks. Tonight I'm going to sleep good. I spoke with my daughter earlier today. She sounds very good. She looks very good. She was very happy. And she's waiting to come home.
You know, that's Natalie's father. Her brother Ben told me that he thinks it's going to be a long, long process, but that he is ready to hug his sister again. Palestinian health officials, meantime, say that more than 4,300 people have been killed in strikes, and as Jim just said, those strikes are anticipated to increase tomorrow, says the IDF. The number of dead expected to rise. So let's begin this hour with our own Jeremy Diamond in the Israeli city of Ashkelon, just south of here. Jeremy, what are you seeing tonight?
Well, Aaron, it is what we are seeing and also what we are hearing from top Israeli generals. Tonight, General Halevi, the Chief of Staff of the Israel Defense Forces, making very clear that his forces will indeed be entering Gaza, and also telling those troops that their task will be to, quote, destroy Hamas operatives and infrastructure, and making clear that while they understand that Hamas militants have certainly prepared for Israeli ground forces to enter the Gaza Strip with booby traps, with tunnels, and with other reinforced positions, he said that we too are prepared for them. On the ground here, Aaron, what we are seeing is a massive buildup, not only of troops, but of armored vehicles, tanks, etc. You can see some of the video that we shot today as we were driving along the border with Gaza. We found not only one of these groupings where you can see in this video dozens of tanks and armored personnel carriers, as well as those D9 bulldozers, which are used to clear the roads of IEDs and other obstacles, but we saw 4 different groupings of this very same size. So altogether, hundreds of tanks, armored vehicles, and those bulldozers, as well as infantry who were also staged alongside those vehicles. So certainly this ground invasion does appear to be imminent. When exactly it starts still remains a question. And as they prepare for that, certainly Israeli politicians and generals have been preparing the public here in Israel for a long and drawn-out war, one that will certainly be costly in terms of the lives of Israeli soldiers. But there is also, of course, the issue of civilian casualties inside of Gaza, as we have watched as hundreds of women and children have already been killed in those airstrikes, which, as Jim just noted, are now intensifying ahead of this potential ground invasion. We spoke yesterday with a lieutenant colonel who is commanding a special forces unit, a reconnaissance unit preparing to go into Gaza. And one of the things that he told me was very striking, which is that he said Israel has declared the northern Gaza Strip a no-go zone, effectively, telling civilians to move south. And he said that anyone who has chosen to stay there has chosen a side. Now, he did say that his units will still work to minimize civilian casualties, but certainly if that is the message that Israeli troops are getting, that could potentially lead to a situation where troops going in consider anyone who is moving to be a target. Aaron?
Absolutely, Jeremy. And just speaking to someone in northern Gaza earlier today, 3 young children, he says, not an enemy of Israel, he says he's staying because it's his home. So goes to show you people still are staying. As President Biden just moments ago was asked, are you encouraging the Israelis to delay invasion as he left church today in Delaware? His response, I'm talking to the Israelis. So still that lack of clarity on exactly when, but as Jeremy points out, they are ready. They are ready. We heard from some members, I knew some people in the IDF, their children, they got a 24-hour leave yesterday. They were returning early today, ready to be sent in if that was the call tonight. And of course, we shall see if and when that comes. Jeremy, thank you. And joining me now is a father who is enduring his own private hell. Shai Wenkert found out that his 22-year-old son, Omer, had been kidnapped. He found out because he saw a video from Hamas. Now, I want to just say, first of all, Shai, I'm profoundly sorry for what you and your family are going through. Itai's family, I've had a chance to speak with Ilan and Marie Regev, and I know that their son was with your son together. I hope they are together now. They're going to come home soon. You've seen those 2 Americans, the mother and daughter, who were released. Did that give you hope?
Thank you for the interview. First, I want to say that the situation is very difficult. All the civilians were kidnapped from Israel. It's not a global event. It happened in Israel. There is no possible situation in the free world in 2023 that other countries will do a selection and take out hostages and civilians out from Gaza. They all have to come out as a group, as one group. We demand to get humanitarian against humanitarian. I'm happy for the family that they went home and now the civilians of Gaza is getting humanitarian, but I think we have to pressure more. My son needs medicine, and Hamas won't let the Red Cross to get in. He needs a doctor attention, and it's very difficult situation. All countries that are going to do a selection will go out of the League of the Free World.
Yeah. I know you tried to rescue Omer, Shai. He was seeking shelter, and you heard this was happening. You were able to get there to try to help him as the attack was still unfolding. He was trying to get to shelter. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
Yeah, when the missiles started to strike at the southern street, Omer went to a shelter. He was stayed there for almost 2 hours. We were in contact with him on mobile. He told us there is missiles. He asked for where is the aircraft. We used to such a situation in Israel, and suddenly he told us there is a gun shooting. Mom, I'm frightened, but I will stay until someone will take me out of it. A friend that was at the shelter told us that Omer went out. He didn't stay. Maybe this is how he saved his life, because we know he's kidnapped. We have a video. Omer is alive. The Hamas is responsible to bring him back alive. It's very difficult situation. I don't know how
no one can truly imagine how.
The father, it's very painful. I'm talking from pain and anger. Bring Omer back home. And all the civilians, the civilians that came to a fest, they kidnapped them, and all the cities around Gaza, they came inside their home and did a massive attack. It's not a humanity. This is a new enemy. We have to deal it. We have to deal it all the world. And I want to ask also the reporters, you have a mission. You are speaking around the world. You have to deal it all around every broadcast. And you have to influence. You have to influence the making decisions. We have to do it. We have to do it now.
Shai, I can, as a parent, and anyone watching as a parent, only possibly imagine the pain that you feel, and the fear and the grief and the anger. Has the Israeli government given you any updates at all on Omer's condition? I know you found out from a Hamas video that he was taken hostage. I've seen that video. He's in the truck. But have you gotten any updates from the Israeli government?
We got update from the Israeli government. We believe in the Israeli government. We believe in the IDF. They will do the big suggestion and the big talk to do everything to keep everyone safe. We got informed that Omer was kidnapped, and since then we don't have any information. We didn't get any information. We tried every day to go to the Red Cross office, and the Hamas refused to do it. There are children, there are women, there are oldies, there are sick people that need a medical attention. I don't know where he's staying. I don't believe it's a very difficult situation. I'm sorry, but I'm very painful for this situation, and I'm very angry that they are stopping, the Hamas stopping this assistance. So they get humanitarian, they took out 2 hostages, but it's not. It's supposed to be as a one group for the humanitarian. They have to take them all out.
Shai, I just want to, before we go, if there's something that you would want Omer to hear. I know you've said a lot and you would want him to hear all of this, but if there's something you would just want your son to hear now, what would it be?
Omer, I know you are strong. Omer, we are strong. We are waiting for you at home, and he will be back. We are doing everything to take you out. We are waiting for you, all the family, and I think all Israel and all the world. We are waiting for you, Omer. Come home now.
Shai, thank you very much for sharing that with everyone, as painful as it is. I know you want everyone to hear, so thank you. Shai Winkert is Omer's dad.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have much more from Israel in Straight Ahead.
Not flossing well? Then add the whoa of Listerine to your routine. New science shows Listerine is 5 times more effective than floss at reducing plaque above the gum line for a cleaner, healthier mouth. Listerine, feel the whoa.
Don't mind me. I'm just the flu. I'm quite harmless, really. And when people ask, but aren't you linked to dangerous flu complications like pneumonia, heart attack, and hospitalizations, I just say, but I'm just the flu. It's him. Who? I'm just the flu.
Fight the flu with higher dose flu vaccines from Sanofi. They're proven to provide better flu protection than standard dose flu shots in older adults. They've even been shown to better protect against flu-related complications.
Don't get Fluzone high dose Barter-Ring if you've had a severe.
Bring my son home and make sure you don't harm him. A song by Paul Beckman, Polly Rainbow song. Also the new and first leader of humankind in the free world. Created October 21st, 2023. my son home and make sure you don't harm him. Bring my son home and make sure you don't harm him. Bring my son home and make sure you don't harm him. Don't harm him. Hair on his head. I want to see my son. I love him more than anything. I want to see him now. Don't you harm him. I want to see him, so you make sure that you bring him back to me. Yes, I want to see my son, and I want to do it fast now. I don't want it to take a year or 2 or 5. Don't want it to take 10 or 20. He'll be a different guy. I want to see my son. I want to see him. I want to see my son. Do you understand? I want to see my son. Yes, I want him. I want him, yeah. Oh, 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 I'm feeling so bad without him. I miss him so much. I'm feeling so bad without him. I've gotta have him back, yeah. Don't you harm a head on his little head now. Don't you harm him at all. I want to see my son now. You give him back to me. I'm telling you.